Hey everybody, it's Coach Allison back. We've got week 4 Defy Aging to review today. All right, this week there's going to be 2 different sections of the workout. The first one is going to be standard rotation, so a standard circuit. You're going to run through that for 3 rounds of 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. That's pretty typical, right? After we finish that, you're all going to separate and be in your own space for an AMRAP. That's as many rounds as possible. You're going to run through that for 10 minutes. So getting as many of the exercises in this done as you can within that 10 minutes. And within that, there are 3 different exercises you're going to run through. The rep counts are designated for each different exercise within that. And we'll go through that when we do our demonstration. So let's go through that demo. All right, first exercise of the circuit, the rotation, is a stability ball, glute bridge, mini band, abduction. Okay, so we've got the mini band around the knees, just above the knees, and we're sitting on a stability ball. I do recommend, so this is kind of more for the coaches, having a chair or a box right next to this so we can be using that chair to put the mini band on and then switch over to the ball. I don't recommend putting the band on while sitting on the ball. It's just because we're rushing to get from station to station and it's not very stable. My recommendation. But I digress on that. Okay, so once you have that band around the knees, we're going to crawl out. You want the head supported. So crawl as far forward as you need to still have your head on the ball. So we're not going to stop here with the head not supported. Okay, get those hips up, so don't allow the hips to sink down like this. Use your glutes and your hamstrings to get those hips up. We do want the feet to be close together, so you're starting with the feet close together and the knees close together. A lot of balance here. And we're going to do abductions, which is opening up those knees. We got the resistance of that mini band. There is a lot going on here. You're going to feel very wobbly. When you're done, you roll yourself up like that. With the feet close together on the ball, you're going to feel very tippy and tipsy and wobbly. Be ready for that. Okay. Another option, the next option for this, so like perhaps considering it the level 2 option, is to do that on the floor. So I should have kept the band on my knees. I already took it off, so just pretend I still have that on there. But still having the band on the knees, keeping the hips up, feet close together still, and doing full abductions just on the floor like this. Okay, so I already took the band off. That was my bad. And again, I took the band off already. It's like I totally forgot that I had these other options to review with everybody. A third option for anyone that's unable to get to the floor is still with the band on the knees. Again, I'm stupid for taking that off. And keeping the band on the knees, sitting on a stable surface and doing the abductions, like so. So we do have a lot of different options for this one. The stability ball one is very challenging. So I definitely urge everyone to try it. It's actually kind of fun because there's so much going on. You don't really know what you're feeling because you're feeling everything. A lot of balance included. So give it a try and let's see how this goes. Okay, the next one is a wall sit isometric adductions. So we're doing actually the exact opposite as far as the hips and the focus as the previous one. So adduction is now squeezing inward with the hips. Now, if your clubs have a ball like this that's squishy, this is ideal for this, but otherwise a very light, solid medicine ball will work as well. I don't think the large bouncy balls will work very well for this, and I'll show you why. Because what we're doing is going against a wall, doing a standard wall sit, okay? But we're placing a ball between the knees and squeezing as hard as possible the whole time. We're just holding that squeeze. That's why these squishy ones are nice, because you can really hold a good squeeze. Okay, so if you don't have those, a lot of the old silver sneakers balls, most of the clubs have those. That works great if we still have those around. Some of the clubs have them, some don't. But that's why we want these solid ones. You want a lighter one because you do have to squeeze kind of hard. So if you have a really heavy one, we don't want to worry about it falling down, like slipping and having to hold it so hard that it's hard, right? So we don't want to hurt our legs. If I have a 4-pounder, it feels just fine, squeezing pretty hard. So remember with wall sits, get as low as you can, feeling that challenge. Ideally a 90-degree bend in your knees if you can. Kind of go from the side here a little bit. Make sure your feet are directly under your knees, so we're not like way out here, but we're not way under. Feet aren't under those legs like that. Feet are directly in line with the knees. If there's any knee issues, so the wall sit just isn't a possibility because of perhaps a knee restriction, we can do the same idea to activate those hips by doing that adduction. We can do the same thing sitting on a box, put the ball between the knees, and do that isometric adduction. It's hard to tell. I think you can see that I'm squeezing, sitting up really tall. So we're not getting the thigh engagement because of the wall sit, but we're getting the hip engagement by squeezing the ball. If, again, another option, if a wall sit isn't an option for you because of a knee restriction, well, I was going to say an isometric squat with the squeeze, but if you can do the isometric squat, actually, then do the wall sit, so never mind. But if for any reason knees aren't allowing you to partake in the wall sit, do that seated version, add that isometric adduction with the ball. Alternating floor chest press is our next one. On the floor, FYI, everybody, best way to get down with the weights, sit first. Once you're on your butt, put your weights in your lap, then lay down. Okay, we don't want to see people lying down and then grabbing the weights like this. Depending on the weights you have, if they're kind of on the heavier side, that's not the safest way to pick them up. Just little tidbit for you. Okay, keep your knees bent. That's lower back support. And palms forward, but your elbows are kind of dipped down to a 45-degree angle. And we're doing an alternating pattern here. This is kind of back to basics. This is not anything new or fancy, but it's a great exercise. It's a staple exercise for the chest and shoulders, a little bit of triceps even. So make sure we do a full rep on one side before we start to move that other side. Don't worry about speed or anything. Don't worry about how many reps you're doing. Focus on good quality reps. When you're done, let the bottom of the bottom dumbbell like that plop down to the floor, and that's the safest way to put those down. Anyone not doing our floor exercises, we're going to have an incline bench wheeled into the space to do that same exercise, but on an incline bench to keep you off the floor. TRX underhand row, haven't done this variety for a couple weeks. Pretty much exactly what it sounds like. So take our TRX, but instead of a standard neutral grip, we're going to flip those palms underhand. One thing to keep in mind with an underhand grip is it doesn't have to be exaggeratedly underhand. Sometimes our wrists and our forearms will naturally have this little bit of a turned in position like this, and that's fine. Like for me, if I force a strict underhand, it's not comfortable on my elbow and kind of my wrist. So for me, when I'm doing my underhand TRX rows, they'll have a little bit of an angle like that. And that's fine. So if you're noticing that happen for you, totally fine. Okay. So that underhand position, the farther down you step like this, the harder it becomes because you're working against gravity a little more, right? So make it a little lighter, you step up straighter. But we don't pull ourselves up so high that we have any slack in the TRX. So make sure as soon as you come up and there's still tension here, and that's where you stop. So don't come up any farther like this. With an underhand version of this, however, you are rowing kind of relatively low. See how my hand is coming in here low like this? With the neutral grip, it's a little higher up here. But your hands will be down here by the rib cage for this version. Shoulders stay down, make sure you're not shrugging up by your earlobes, and squeeze the shoulder blades behind you. Think of kind of sticking your chest out. That helps you to draw those shoulders back and squeeze the shoulder blades. So that is our underhand TRX row. All right, our last one for the circuit is a mini band double arm external rotation. So at the mini bands, you're going to want one of the light ones for this, I think, light or moderate, okay? Because you're working an external rotation in the shoulder rotator cuff. It's going to be a weaker exercise overall. So elbows are bent to 90 degrees, keeping this upper arm right along the side so it's not way back here, but it's not way forward. Okay, and kind of put the band around the wrists. You can do an open fist or an open hand or a closed fist, whatever's more comfortable. I like to do an open hand because I feel like kind of my thumb kind of helps keep the band from maybe sliding off of my hand. It's really preference anyways. But we do an external rotation. So we're rotating externally with those arms. Okay, I'll show you a couple angles here. But the key is we want to keep this upper arm kind of glued to the side, and we don't want to allow like this to happen. That's really common. See my arm, how my arms are now removing from my side. So we're almost doing more of a lateral raise, which we do not want to do. Instead, we're going for a movement like this. So this is staying glued to the side, right? See that? I hope everyone can see that difference. If it comes, see how there's a little sliver of space there. That's okay. It might have a little sliver of space here, but the upper arm, for the most part, should stay close to the side here. Okay, and that's our external rotation with the mini band. Now, not all the clubs will have the mini bands. I don't think, or maybe not the light ones. So I'm going to show you how to do this single arm with a standard band with a handle. If your clubs don't have those mini bands, some of the clubs might be doing this variety. So you'll have still a light band, this type, and it's anchored on one side. So you'll be doing this variety, which is totally fine. It's the exact same thing, but you will have to switch, pardon turning my back on you, but like this, you'll have to switch arms halfway through the set. So you'll end up doing 15 seconds on each side, but the cues are the same. An arm is staying close to the side. We're not doing like this. Everything is the same. It'll just look a little bit different depending on the types of bands you have at your club. Next up, we have our 10-minute AMRAP. So the first exercise for this is jumping jacks. And now we're into the section where you're counting your own reps. So for the jumping jacks, it's 25 reps. So yes, it's 25, but jumping jacks go relatively quickly. So I think we all know what jumping jacks look like. Full arm swings, right? And if for any of us who are taking out the impact of the full jumping jack, we're going to turn it into a step jack. But I want these to be a full step, and I want them to have some speed and intensity. So we're still getting that cardio and intensity behind it, even if we're taking the jump out, right? So I do want everyone to be aware to not do the toe tap jack. I want that full step. So we're getting as much body movement as we can to replicate that full jumping jack as best we can. So 25 of those. Second exercise in the AMRAP is 20 donkey kicks on each leg. So we went from 25 down to 20, but now it's on each leg. So a donkey kick is for your glute here, maybe a little bit of the hamstring, upper hamstring. You're in a quadruped position to start, hands and knees, and keep your spine straight. And we're gonna, the leg you're working, you're gonna flex the foot. So watch my right leg here, watch my right foot. I'm gonna flex that foot first, and I'm gonna bring the leg up. See how my foot is still flexed. This is a relaxed foot. This is a flexed foot. I'm gonna kick that heel towards the ceiling. Each one of these is a donkey kick. 1, 2, 3. There's no need to bring the knee all the way down each time. I actually don't want to do that, because when you do that, it just gets too sloppy, and there's also too much room for momentum. When you have momentum on a donkey kick, it sacrifices the really good spinal position, and it turns that spine into a sloppy spine position. Watch. So right now I have my spine in a good position. I'm able to keep it controlled because I'm controlling that donkey kick. Watch what happens when I allow my knee to come too low and I'm kind of flailing and flopping. Look at my hips, my tailbone, my lower spine is starting to round and arch and do all sorts of, we don't want that. So only bring the knee down as low as you need to feel the contraction in your glute release. That's low enough. So 20 on each side. It's gonna get a nice little burn in that butt. Now, if you are looking for a way to make this harder, you can grab a dumbbell. It does not have to be a heavy one. 5 pounds maybe, maybe 8. I grabbed a 10 because it was just sitting here. I'm not gonna like it. Um, you have to keep a really hard squeeze. You have to now keep, you have to consciously keep this leg squeezed because you're holding onto that weight behind the knee. But you can do that same thing, now adding that weight behind your knee in your knee pit there. So you're adding a little, you're just adding some resistance. So that's if you're looking for a progression. All right, 20 on each leg. Anyone not getting to the floor? What's happening? Standing glute kickback is the alternative. So you'll stand up and you can hold on to something for balance. That's totally fine. We don't care about the balance being part of this exercise, so feel free to use a wall. Stand up relatively straight, and we're going to do a straight leg kick back. You're still getting that glute. Don't compensate by leaning, so we're not doing this. You keep your body relatively still. You can have a very subtle leaning, very subtle forward tilt, but you probably couldn't tell from that angle. Maybe I'll show you from the front. That leg is kind of, sort of going kitty corner back. It's not going like straight back. It's, yeah, you can kind of see from the, I think, maybe I'll go like, see how it's kind of going a slight kitty corner. It's not going just like straight back. So that's okay. Your leg kind of has a natural, when you're going back, the leg has a natural gait, or I can't think of the best direction, where it's going to sort of go kitty corner, not just straight back. And that's fine. That's the best way to get that glute. So that's the alternative for anyone staying off the floor, 20 each side. All right, and the last exercise is only for 15 reps. You can see the trend here. We're dropping the reps down with each one. It's a Superman with a lat pull. Lat pull isn't with any equipment. It's the movement only. So let me show you what this looks like. All right, on the stomach, on the floor. Okay, so we do our standard Superman is with arms out, legs out, and we lift and lower. But we're gonna add that lat pull. So the lats are back here. So we lift, and as we're lifting, at the very top of the movement, we pull into that lat pull, pulling the elbows back and down, kind of making a W with the arms. And then down and forward, so down and release. Up, pull back, getting as much of the torso off the floor as you can, and as much of the legs without bending the knees, however. And down. So I'll do a few more so you can see it all together. Exhale on the way up. Really tuck those elbows back. I want you to pretend you're trying to tuck your elbows into your spine, like touch your spine with your elbows. Okay, so for anyone staying off the floor, there's an option that is keeping you off the floor. It's actually almost harder. It's kind of bizarre, so you'll have to make your own judgment on this. So, but it's the best way to stay off the floor, but also get the low back. So keep the low back engagement with this movement. You're going to be using the stability ball. It's kind of hard to get in and out of it. You kind of have to roll and do it like that. So you're not really going to be, it's very subtle lift and lower. You obviously aren't going to lift all your legs. Your legs have to stay on the floor. So very subtle up and down, so you're still getting that Superman. And then you can still get the lat pull or the lat tuck. Okay? So that way we're still getting mostly the same stuff. Only thing we're not being able to get is the very low back and the glute engagement, because we're not able to lift those legs. But it is a little tricksy to sort of stabilize on that ball. So that's where I said it's an alternative, but it does not mean it's anything easier. It's simply an alternative for anyone who's unable to get to the floor. The final alternative, again, for anyone unable to get to the floor and the ball is not an option for, we're going to take out the Superman component and focus strictly on the lat component. So we're going to do a lat pull with the band. Arms through the handles to keep them from flopping around all over the place. Put the arms about 45 degrees out from the forehead. Pull down and back. See how I'm making that W shape at the bottom? Pull the band to the upper chest, not down here, so we're not pulling down here like this. You want to think of a chest, popping your chest out, shoulders back at the bottom of the movement. Okay? And then kind of release. Chest out, elbows back. Chest out, elbows back. So we're getting that lat pull, we're getting these lat and back muscles. We are not getting the low back component. That is okay. We're still getting those really important upper and middle back muscles. So that's the alternative for that one. That is our Superman lat pull. All right, for our team builder this week, we're going to do a battle rope relay. We do this occasionally. I'm going to do double arm slams. I'm not going to pull out the battle rope here, but double rope, double arm slam like this, kind of one of the standard rope exercises. If you have a smaller group for this day in your Defy, everyone's going to do this together, and you can time it, see how long it takes you, and try to get under maybe 2 minutes, or depending on how many people are in your session, your coach can pick an amount of time that they think is appropriate to try to beat. If you have a larger group, I do want everyone to split into 2 groups, and if, of course, I think all the clubs have 2 ropes. So split into 2 groups, and you're simply going to have a race. But the way we're going to do this is that everyone is going to line up, and everyone is going to first go through 30 slams, and then everyone is going to go through 20 slams, and then everyone is going to go through 10 slams. Okay, so it's going to be a lot of rope slams. Again, so you're not doing it all, you're not doing 20, 30, 20, 10, because that would be, 60 all at once, but everyone does 30, everyone does 20, and then everyone does 10, okay? So that's going to be kind of a big cardio finisher, a lot of arms, a lot of shoulders, and that is our team builder this week. All right, everybody, that's week 4. Hope you enjoy it. We'll see you back in week 5.